pieces with kids. And yeah, slowly but surely, Sharon, I still haven't figured out the layout for having 2 devices at the same time, but it is getting easier with time. So people may be joining us as we go along, but I think we'll get started maybe just with some of the basics. And then as people pop in, new to FLIPGRID, cool, brand new to FLIPGRID, awesome. So just as we're starting, again, if you're new to Appy Hour, just make sure you log in up in the top corner if you want to use the chat box. As we go along, we just pause. We give you a chance to chat, try it out, ask questions, and that's kind of how we take it. Usually I run out of time. There's been a few sessions though where we timed it right. I feel with FLIPGRID, there's just so many possibilities. It could go anywhere, but yeah. So I thought to start off, I'd share a little bit about my journey with FLIPGRID, just to give you some context and to show you some of the ways it could look for those that are new. And then after that, we'll dive in to just walking through setting up a grid and topics and some of those settings within there. As we do that, we also want to give some tips for different ways kids could record themselves or post items, just because not everybody loves being on screen. So that's always a piece, right? And some little tricks and tips for that as we go along. Cool. So keep saying hi, keep telling us your experiences with FLIPGRID before. And hopefully we'll get going. Okay, so the easiest way to describe FLIPGRID, and I feel like I'm aging myself, is Speaker's Corner. So it's a video digital version of Speaker's Corner. Kids, learners of all ages, and you're going to see that when I show some of my examples, can post video responses to a prompt that you post. So they could be more open-ended. They could be very focused. It's really up to you how you set up that post. But the only piece that's really consistent is that they have that video response. So it's an awesome way to capture student thinking. And I know when we look at a lot of the conversations we've been having in the education field, especially with the world events happening right now, is how can we really use or capture student learning in different ways. So I posted it much more eloquently on my Twitter feed today because I had a great student gift creation shared. And I think it's so amazing to see how technology can really give students a voice and can also help us move away from our dependence on text being the only way to capture student learning. So really, it's a way of making learning more accessible. And FLIPGRID's a great tool that just gives us a way to capture it, moderate it, organize it. It's just all of that. Awesome. So it was introduced to you, Jeffrey. Cool. So I've been using FLIPGRID since 2014. I feel super old right now, but it was one of those things that just came up on Twitter. We all have those moments, right? Something new gets dropped on Twitter. At the time, I think it was just a university project. The structure was completely different. Just still did the Speaker's Corners piece. So yeah, it was super cool just to see the evolution, and they have so many more tools available to them, available to us right now. And they're always adding more tools. FLIPGRID is amazing at providing resources and providing opportunities for educators to chat. So after today, check out their website, check out their Twitter handle or Instagram, Facebook, they're everywhere. They have awesome learning opportunities all the time, including a conference at the end of the month. It's so great for Forest of Reading and those guest readers. Love that. Posted challenges, and guest readers posted challenges and questions is what Lisa said after they did their live read alouds. Fantastic. So originally it was just you could post a video. Now you can actually post a video and reply. And since they're partnered with Microsoft, it's now completely free. So there's no cost, which for us is amazing. So one piece that sometimes gets a little confused, and that's very bright green now that I see it full screen, is that there's two pieces. We have the Educator Dashboard where we're setting up the FLIPGRID, and then there's the app when we're accessing it to record our videos or to watch the videos. So a lot of times people go to the app and we're not quite sure where to start. So we're going to go to the dashboard. It's just available online. You can do it from your mobile devices, so no worries there. But just keep that in mind as we go along, that that's kind of where those pieces lie. So when we look at some examples, like I said, for me, there's so many different possibilities. I've used it a lot in AQ courses when I'm facilitating AQ courses, even to do something as simple as just sharing read alouds, and you can see somebody else just added to our read alouds that we were reading. We've done it, Lisa, jumping off your idea, we've done it for World Read Aloud Day and actually put it out to our board. So this one we had some dogs and some families. So some of our teacher friends actually jumped in with their kids. Even our director got in to celebrate World Read Aloud Day. Sometimes, and unfortunately, as in my past role as a modern learning resource teacher, I do it with teachers, so I didn't get the student samples. We were looking at just a quick prompt like, would you rather? So an easy way to kind of capture their thinking and allowing them to bypass, again, that they have to maybe do it in a written format, but also allowing them to show that they're learning in a variety of different ways. Just a reminder, though, that you aren't limited to just recording on the spot like Speaker's Corner. You can upload your own videos. So even using it as a way to showcase student creations. So this was a family creation night. And if you came to Stop Motion, we actually shared this. So for family creation night, we wanted to collect all of these animations families had created on their personal devices, and we had a variety of them. So FLIPGRID was a way for us to collect all of them in one spot, and if they wanted to, they could come in and check them out. And we could also embed it into our website. So it was right there for them to check out and highlight, kind of like a little video gallery. So a great way to showcase student work, especially when it's videos. We've also explored just looking at how we can capture ideas from colleagues. So this was, we were reflecting on some of our practices this year as I'm on secondment with OCT. So we were looking at just capturing voices beyond the group that was going to be there that day. So putting out some of those questions and those prompts, and then being able to capture more voices or people who couldn't join us that day. Anybody else have some other ideas of how you've used it that you want to drop into the comments? Doesn't make sense. One of the big things with FLIPGRID is that we're going to have comments and then grids. So my grid was reflections on math AQ guidelines, but then you can see within that grid that we had many different topics for them to discuss. So as we go through tonight, that's going to be our goal. We're going to set up a grid. We're going to look at a topic. We're going to look at some of those settings and some of those options, just so we feel more comfortable with it and explore. And I know last week, one of the pieces, one of the reasons FLIPGRID came up again was we were looking at ways to celebrate our school community at the end of the year. So FLIPGRID really could be a great way to have 2 or 3 prompts that friends can reflect on, and then be able to have that video collection that you celebrate. It also would accommodate students that maybe could join you synchronously or asynchronously. I'm missing a syllable in there. But being able to have them record at any time that works for them, but still being able to showcase the videos during a group session if you wanted to. So you're using it for the week for our Rally Day challenges. Very cool. Grade 5 grad. Oh, that's awesome. I'm going to see if I can find it, and this is probably going to be disastrous. Hippocratic Oath. If you are looking for a great grad example, and I know it's big people, but it was really cool how they set it up. There was a medical school in England that actually did their whole piece here. So they recorded themselves with their messages, and then under the responses, they each did their oath or their message below. What was cool though is that they also linked to another collection of people that had well wishes for them. So they were different individuals that were able to still celebrate them and bring their message of good tidings. Sounds very, I've never said good tidings before, so I don't know where that word came from. Okay, so it seems like we still have a fair amount of new folks. So tonight our goal is to just take a tour of the dashboard. We'll make sure we're all logged in. We're gonna start that grid, set up a grid, and we're gonna look at those three types of grids, which really relate to the three types of login options. And then there's the privacy pieces that come with that. After that, we'll look at setting up a topic and all of the pieces within the topic. We'll look to the Disco library. So people that are brand new to FLIPGRID, the Disco library has so many options you can pull from. So if you're not comfortable or not sure what to start with, so many choices there. But we also want to get into adding and sharing, looking at the possibilities of co-pilots, like we said. If you wanted to showcase to parents or sending it along to a colleague in your school, how you can give guest access. And then if we have enough time, we'll look at mixtapes as well. Thanks for joining us, Cynthia. All right, so let's get started. We're just gonna, I'll make sure to, Lisa, to send that along tonight so you can check it out. So we're just gonna go to flipgrid.com. If you haven't already, just make sure to log in at the top where it says Educator Login. Again, you should be able to use your Google account if you like. And yeah, that should take you in. Let me know if you're on this page, and we'll take it from there. So this is your dashboard. This is your home base. Again, if you're using an iPad, I haven't tried it on my phone. I should have tested, but I think it's the same on the phone. But if you're on your iPad, just put flipgrid.com in Safari, and it will take you to the site. Awesome. So your dashboard has many options. This first piece with your grid is kind of your home base. Again, it will have all of those details that you need to get started. You can kind of see I have a bunch of different grids, and that's just over time. Sometimes I'd have grids like just one grid for our classroom or one grid for our group. And sometimes you just want specific grids because it's a specific thing you're collecting. Maybe it's you're reaching out to families, and for some of their favorite recipes, that may be something specific that you're working through. Okay. Now, a lot of times there's a grid already set up for you, or they'll add a topic. We're gonna walk through adding a new grid. So as we click on add a new grid, FLIPGRID's awesome. They walk us through everything. So I'm gonna call this a what I'm reading because in September, I have a library gig. So maybe I wanna keep track of what I'm reading. Maybe we'll actually say what we're reading so that we can check that out. Now, when I go to grid type, we have 3 grid types. In the past, they were always open, but privacy-wise, that's not great with our students. So students, if you're doing this with your students and not your school community, you would be picking the first or the second option. So they can use their school email. And with their school email, it's not gonna let me just test it for you. All right. I may have to do 3 grids so I can show you each option. So with school email, it will actually allow you to say which domain they come from so that you can limit it. So let's just walk through the steps so you get it. The other thing is I can personalize that flip code just so it's easier for the kids. I just snuck that in there, Natasha. Just for kids to be able to put it into their app so they don't have to remember something funky. we are reading. I'm guessing somebody's already using that, so we're going to put Zeta, what we're reading. Zeta reading. Maybe that would be better. Thinking out loud there. So now when I go next, you're going to see that you can put that school email address in. For us in Peel, we put that pdsb.net because they'll be using that Google account. We can also put at plsb.com. I don't know if it would work because it's not their PLSB, but it just gives you that chance to kind of add those pieces in. Now, that's school email. If you're working with younger guys, you can actually set up a login for everyone. So you can use the school ID. I do like this option if you're a librarian because maybe you don't want to set up an account for everyone, but you would have an account for each classroom. It could be a cool way in person. They create amazing little QR codes the kids can use to log in. So if you're a Seesaw fan, it's that same piece. But because we're in this distance learning environment, I don't know if the student IDs would be the best option. For those that have used FLIPGRID, how do you have them log in? No worry. I'm at Aylesbury next year, for those that are wondering where I'm going. So for me, for tonight, I'm going to just do the educator learning community. This just means that because I'm using it with adults, I don't need to have a login. I can still put a password on it, but I have that option to keep it open because I'm using it with adults. Again, I have that password option if we just want to keep it for, we're doing a book club and we're just sharing questions around the book and we're exploring different chapters. So maybe we want a password because it's just for us. But again, for me, I'm okay with this being public. And I'm going to say next. That's the hardest part about setting up a grid. Once you're at this point, your grid is good to go. And you're going to see that FLIPGRID actually creates a topic for you. At any point, you can come into your pencil and do edits. So I could fine tune that grid name. I can come in and fine tune those elements. I can decide when I'm notified. So this is how often you get emails to tell you people are there. So I just want weekly. I can turn that off so that students can't download and share after they've created their videos, or leave that on. Captions, they auto caption. And then I also have that picture option for the background. So I can bring my own images in, which again, those that know me well know I like bringing my own images in, but there's great ones to choose from there as well. So I'm going to just pause for a minute in case you're playing around, looking for options, questions. So Lisa, if you're doing a book club for students, I think you have to go with the email option. I think it would be, and I don't know, others that have used it, jump in, let us know. Natasha's saying she's used the Google accounts to log in. You do have to log in no matter what when you're posting a video. It's just when you're going to get that login prompt. School Gmail, so yeah. QR codes were great. I love the option. We talked a lot about, we suggested it a lot when people were even talking about modern learning, or if we were doing some tasks as a school for climate, we wouldn't necessarily want all the kids to have to log in. So those QR codes was a great way to kind of know which class they were part of. But yeah, it's with distance learning, I think with students, that email is our best option. Sorry, Jennifer. So if you wanted to go jig there, you just go to the pencil. It's beside actions. So we have share, actions, and pencil. Let's just go through those options at the top right now, because that will be a great piece. So notice there's my link. Right now I'm in teacher mode. I'm in the Educator Dashboard. At any time, if I click on that link at the top, the flip code, it's going to show me what it will look like in student view. So you have that chance to switch between that Educator Dashboard and that view that everyone gets. Beside that, you're going to see an option for adding a co-pilot. So again, if Lisa's doing a book club with all the grade 5s, you can add different FLIPGRID educators' emails so that they're co-pilots with you. That means they can edit, they can moderate, they can download the videos, all of that jazz. So if you really want to have a shared space, that co-pilot can do that. Jennifer, it may just be, sometimes because it's so adaptive, it may just be squishing to a smaller view. Gabriella, great question. If you need that flip code, so right now I'm in the grid, I can see that code right there, so I can copy it, but at any point I can hit share and I'll get my code. I can drop it straight into Google Classroom. I can get a QR code. I can embed it on a site. So if we were doing this for Forest of Reading, if we were doing this for Summer Book Club or Summer Reading Club, we can put that right on our Google site or in D2L if we're using it, if that makes sense. So yeah, you're not, that code will be there forever. Actions is more just all of those different options that you have. To be honest, I don't go into them a ton here. I use them more in the topics, but just know actions is kind of your menu options that you'll get. Any other questions about grids? Do we feel good about grids? Are we ready to get into topics, the fun part? Just let me know in the comments. Again, you can have as many grids as you like. It's really up to you how you organize it. I think for me, when I look at grids, I always look at what, who's the group I'm getting together, and then the topics within it are the discussions we want to have. So yeah, it's really the grids I kind of think of as groups. Ready? Awesome. Okay, so we have our grid ready. Now we're ready for our topics. So I have what we're reading, and I may want to put some different groups together. To keep it simple, this first one's going to just be picture books. So I'm going to add a new topic. Sorry, I just had Hey, okay. Minor technical glitch. Sorry, everyone. I'll go back. Okay, so I have my grid. So I'm going to add a new topic, and I'm going to say picture books. So here are some picture books I've been reading. Let me know what you are reading too. So your title is just your title. It will be your topic. Your prompt, you can put anything in there that will kind of pop up when they first see it. The piece you're going to see underneath is recording time. Now, FLIPGRID's been amazing. They've always changed these settings. And with distance learning, they gave a 10-minute option. Really, you want to think of the maximum you want to listen to, not think about how long you want your kids to talk for. So they can always stop before the time limit, but they can't really go over the time limit. Now, this is great when you're trying to keep friends concise, adults concise. I'm terrible, especially with this stuff. So when I'm doing something like using it for little book talks or for announcements in the AQ courses, I'll usually put 5 minutes on, because then I'm not limiting myself, but I still have a limit. Nobody listens after 5 minutes, except you awesome crew. If it's more with students and I'm just doing a check-in, or I just want people to quickly summarize what's one thing you learned about light and sound, I may want to do a minute because this is a quick check-in, so I don't want them to be too long, or I give them a minute and a half. But minute works perfect. So my picture book in a minute, in 90 seconds. Who am I kidding? I can never do a minute. So let's give myself 90 seconds. Notice right beside there, you have that option to moderate. So if it's all adults, or if it's just your individual classroom and you're checking on a regular basis, I wouldn't worry as much about the video moderation. If you are doing something more open-ended, it's a book club amongst students, families, you're sharing it publicly and families are kind of jumping on board. What we did with the students where they were posting their videos, I may want to turn video moderation on, which just means I see it before it goes public. Also, if you're worried if students are maybe sharing things that are personal and you just want to be able to have that individual conversation with them before it's something everyone sees, video moderation is a great option to have. All right, so we have our title, we have our prompt, we've set our recording time and our video moderation, and then we have this awesome option to add a focus. So the focus is really a visual that we can attach. This is where it can be as exciting or as simple as you want. And in the Disco library, we'll get into some more options with video. But especially for the classroom, there's a great option to just record a video as a teacher. Now notice, especially for Natasha, this looks a lot like FLIPGRID Shorts. It's the same FLIPGRID camera, no matter where you are. So you can make it as fancy or as simple as you like. So if you don't like being on camera, we can get, oops, if I keep clicking off. So we can get those pieces in and record a quick little intro. Now, to be honest, I do feel like sometimes kids having that prompt, having that visual of you, I say kids, learners of all ages again, it just gives that physical presence to this digital space. So it allows you just that connection a little bit more. So I can record, and just like you do with your FLIPGRID Shorts, hey friends, I'm sharing a little bit about what I'm reading right now, and I'd love to hear what you're reading right now. We're gonna bypass that. I need a picture. And now when kids come in, before they put their videos in, they'll actually see me doing a quick video prompt. So that can be my focus, that can be my element there. Now that doesn't have to be the only way you do it. You can go into the emojis and pick an emoji as a visual prompt. I'd always advocate to find a visual prompt. There's great GIFs, especially if you're working with the juniors and higher. The GIFs can be a great little prompt. You can have an image that maybe has some of your instructions. And there's also an opportunity to tap into a variety of different tools out there. So remember, for those that did Adobe Spark with us, we can link to Adobe Spark. You can link to a Kahoot game. We can link to a Wakelet curated collection. The options are endless, but right now, the simplest one is to go find yourself an emoji to be your prompt. I want that pile of books. So let me know how you're doing. I'm gonna leave it right here and answer some of your questions. So Jeffrey, if you're moderating vids and you set up for weekly notifications, you'll get one notification. So Jeff, if you're moderating, I'm gonna create the topic and go back to show you. So I'm all set. I'm gonna see in here. No, I have to go back to my grid. So if I was moderating, I would set the reminder to every time there's a video. So if I go into my grid settings and come down here to notifications, see that option that says every new video. I'd start on that and update the grid. I'd start on that, and then if I'm finding that I'm getting like 30 videos in a day, that would be an awesome problem to have. I'd set it to daily. But if you're moderating, you do want to get that little heads up. But every time a new video is added, especially if I look at something like this one with a stop motion, right? If I'm doing it as an open maker task that we've kind of a maker challenge for the week, students may be posting at random times, or it may be something they do throughout the whole month. So that option to set it to remind you every time there's a new video would probably be the best way to make sure you're moderating. So Daniel, great question as a high school teacher. So Daniel, do you have multiple sections? Is that kind of what you're thinking of? Okay, so I'm going to come back to you, Daniel. Don't let me forget. I have a couple ideas and tips for you. Jennifer, if you're in here, I'll delete this again. I record. So if you record, I'm gonna have to redo this. hey, and you go next and next. You're gonna have to snap your selfie. I think this may be where you are, because it needs a picture. Oh my goodness, that's terrible. I can't let that go. I'm not good at selfies. One day. My friends' kids have tried for years, but that will have to do. Okay, and then once it's ready, you have it there and it's complete. Okay, all ninth graders. Awesome, Daniel. Thanks for that detail. So just, okay, found the next button. Just grabbing some of the questions here. I don't want to forget your question though, Daniel, because I think it's a great one. If you have multiple ninth graders and if you want to keep like the class itself organized, but share the same topic, you have that option. So there's a lot of possibilities there. So we'll come up to that next. Winnie, you wanted me to go back. I'm terrible. I'm glad I'm not the only bad selfie person, and this one's a little scary right now. So let me go back into edit. Winnie will go back to the camera, but I'll also, at the end of tonight, like we've been doing for the other Appy hours, I'll drop, I'll put a little Wakelet together with some resources, and I'll drop our Appy hour where we looked at the camera into that chat. So we did a whole night just looking at the camera. Yes, and let's get into some of those pieces too. So the camera that you use here, and I'm just going to delete and redo it so we can do the text, Winnie. The camera you use here is the same camera kids would use. So same experience. A couple points, kids don't always love to see themselves. So there's a lot of things you can do. If they're using a personal device, they can flip their camera and actually be pointing it at the table or pointing it at their work. They do have the option to upload from their device, whether they're using a phone, an iPad, a tablet, or computer, Chromebook. The other option sometimes we've done is to just hold up a sign in front of their face if they don't want to be on screen, especially if I was doing a book. I can just kind of hold that up and blur my face. So if kids don't want to see themselves, but there's also a lot of tools built into the camera. So we were looking at the text, that alphabet option. We click on the color we want. And then I can move that wherever I want. Again, in the camera clip, we'll tell you more about all of those features. When I did this, so as much as we went and asked teachers what they were thinking about math, this fall, we did this awesome thing where we asked students what they thought teachers could do to help them with math. I'm trying, this is bigger on the screen, so I keep trying to look in two different places. It was amazing, but a lot of the kids, we looked at grade 4s, 5s, 6s, and 7s. With the 5s, we actually, these were a treasure. So they're just microphones you plug in, but it gave them that feeling that they were holding something as they talked and took down some of that stress. With the grade 6s and 7s, it was very interesting because they loved the emojis. So there were actually 2 guys that used the emoji and just put it over their face. And honestly, these guys could have had their own show. It was absolutely hysterical. On topic. So they just recorded their video with their emoji. Now, on top of that, though, you also have the filters. So a lot of these are color filters, but that last option there is going to pixelate. So again, some friends just felt more comfortable to not have that full view. So you have lots of options. As a teacher, I don't often use them, but that's kind of the way around it. Teresa, one other way, and this was another friend, and this is why I love FLIPGRID. The pixelation looks a little funky, doesn't it? So one friend was super quiet. He ended up grabbing a device and taking it into the hallway. And he didn't actually record himself, but his comments were so awesome. They're actually in the guideline for all future, anybody that takes AEQ. So he actually used the whiteboard option and just had the whiteboard up as he was talking. So it does more of that podcasting feel instead of having your video on, if that makes sense. Teresa, and that's why I do like the pieces about them holding an object, about getting close to the camera. There's lots of ways for them to record without it having to be public. So Daniel, to your piece about, oops, I'm on the pen. To your piece about names, they could grab their name and even break it up or say it slowly or repeat it just so that, or tell us a bit about themselves without having to be on screen. Yes, so with the drawing tools, you can draw. So as I'm recording, I can actually, that's not a very good job, but I can draw on screen. So again, if you're doing math, a great way to explain your thinking. If you were describing a picture, they can bring up pictures, so they can bring up their work. So I have a picture here of Saturday. And I can have multiple pictures on the screen at a time. So if I don't want to be on screen, again, I can get that in there. I can have to clear all my objects off. So you can have that picture and you can be annotating on that picture. So if you wanted to explain a science concept, if students wanted to show you a creation they've made, a piece of artwork, and again, they can make that piece of artwork as big or small they want. So whether it covers them or whether they're beside it is really up to them with the whiteboard option. So I can take that off and I can be beside it as I'm talking, or I can drop that whiteboard back on and nobody can see that piece. So just to show you what that looks like with the drawing. So Saturday is by Oge Mora, and it's about a little girl and her mom as they do their typical Saturday routine, and everything goes wrong. So they learn to take a deep breath and to continue on and realize the best part is not all of the places, but getting to spend time together. And again, in your selfie mode, you have those same options. So my friend here, he just, he had his emojis. The grade 6, 7s, and 8s were just all about the emojis. He had his title. So you really can have it kind of like that vlog or blog. Now we've gone straight through, but students could take segments as well. So they can keep adding to it if it's a 5-minute little presentation of what they've learned. Think if you're doing a Genius Hour right now, and you wanted them to just kind of share what they've learned through Genius Hour, they could even be documenting it as they go along. That's it. It's a great tool for capturing that voice. And I love FlipGrid. When I first started, it was always that video option. So we'd always say flip the camera, face it towards the table. Because if you were explaining your math, you really could just videotape your hand on paper. But yeah, I love that they've incorporated so many options into the camera. So we'll make sure that video is included in the roundup. So if you want to just go through the camera, we went through all of them. All of those options there. So just a note that you do have a couple more options with the topic. So under topic tip, this would pop up as they're recording. So if you think your friends need a little prompt, unfortunately it's text for the littlest ones, but if you think they need a little prompt, you could have that there. You can also put links in. So if there was a piece on Google Docs where you have a graphic organizer you've used or some success criteria, you can put those links in, and you can have a bunch of different links, which we'll see in the Disco library. Topic status, generally they're active, but at any time you can come in and freeze them. That just means kids can't keep adding to it. So for example, my Let's Create, right now people can still join, but you can see it's moderated. So I can actually change that and freeze it. And then students won't be able to keep adding, but they'll still be able to check out all the great work that they've done before. Hidden means that it's only for me, so other people wouldn't be able to find it. So if I'm finished a conversation, I still want to access it, but they may want to check it out later. You also have some options. So they have the option to reply with likes, to add sticky notes. They can reply to each other. They can edit their video. Remember that this was just a minute and a half, so I don't really want, they're not going to be editing, it's going to be straight talking. So I can take any of those settings off so that I can ensure that kids get really into the creation piece. You can also see there with selfies and videos where I can control where they can do those stickers, the drawing. So if I feel like it's going to be too distracting, I could say it's only in the video or they don't have access to it. Again, for the most part, I leave it just because it gives them more options. A lot of times I don't care if they may get too fixated on how many people have viewed a video. Again, maybe we're just showcasing it. Maybe I don't want there to be replies. So you have all those options to fine tune. And to be honest, I haven't dived into the feedback options a ton, but that's built in there as well. So coming back to Daniel's point, maybe we'll pause right there, ask if you have any questions. I want to make sure I show you the Disco library. I may have to make a video about Mixtapes. And then we want to come to Daniel's piece of where you may have multiple classes doing a video or a topic and how you can kind of work that out. Any questions? How are you feeling? Do you like it? Does it seem like it would work? I think for right now, it's a great way to showcase some of that, those creative pieces, especially as students are creating with video tools, a chance to have those conversations, to hear each other's voice, especially if you're not, like I know not everybody's able to join our synchronous sessions. You may have a great turnout, so that may not be something that you're worried about right now, but yeah. Are we okay to keep going? Am I rushing people? I can do that sometimes. Okay. Catherine said, yeah, so we're all going. So as I go along, I'm able to actually duplicate topics, but I can also move them to other grids. So Daniel, and hopefully I didn't hold you up there too long, but if you're a librarian, if you're a planning time teacher, even from year to year, right? You do a really great topic this year, but you don't want all of your student videos to be gone. You want to keep them, but you want to add that same topic next year. we can actually duplicate our topics and we can move them to different grids. So my picture book in 90 seconds, maybe I want to do that. I want to do that again. So I'm going to duplicate topic. Now this duplication will allow me to decide which grid it goes to. So this is a way that we could have that one topic and have different grids. So for folks like Jeffrey and Daniel, you kind of have to decide whether you want one grid and you want all classes to go to that grid. So I could set it, what did we call this one? Oh, what we're reading. So I want to duplicate that topic. I'm going to rename that once I get in there. And I'm going to say only the topic, no responses or replies. So I don't want to bring over everything that's already there. I want it to be a new topic. And then I can duplicate it. Notice though that you could also duplicate it and put it on a different grid. So the biggest question for folks that are creating multiple versions of topics is, do you want them all to go to the same grid and find their class? Or do you want them to have, do you want their class to have a grid because you'll be adding to it over time? So that's just that reflective question as you're starting up. And this is a great example. So instead of my picture book, I could say my nonfiction book in 90 seconds. Here are some nonfiction reads I've been reading. Let me know what you are reading too. So again, really easily, I was able to now have two grids. Again, if I'm duplicating that topic, I could, we did this with a phys ed teacher. So we duplicated it and just changed the class code at the beginning of each grid. But again, at the beginning of each topic, I'm getting my words mixed up. But again, I could actually put it on the let's create. So I could have a grid for each class. It's a hard question. There's one that's easier for us to manage, especially if you have 14 classes, Jeffrey. Sorry, I should have asked. You go by Jeffrey or Jeff. So it's easier for me to kind of have my name. Yeah, I like the different separate grids with the topics duplicated because it keeps each class to their own space and they're not bound to record on one grid and really they mess up the classes. It is a bit harder because then each group has their own grid, but it's set up for the rest of the year. So if you do start Daniel with something like their name, then you'd have that for the rest of the year. But if you're just starting off, that's cool. And remember, you can also move grids at any time. So I have my grid here, but at any time I can come in and move that topic and I can select another grid to drop that in on. So I have that option to move it over later on. So if you did want to start with one general grid and then it's getting too busy and you want to divide them up, you have that option. Okay, I'm looking at the time, 8 minutes. I always say I ran out of time. Hopefully, Jeffrey and Daniel, that kind of addresses some of those questions. Keep dropping me those questions in the chat box. One piece, if you're new and you're wondering what could I do, check out the Disco library. So the Disco library are topics that everyone's kind of already set up. They've teamed up with different educators that use FLIPGRID a lot or different organizations. So I love how the Met has some artifacts. So like, I'm trying to see the one I found. Anybody see symmetry? There we go. So they have an artifact you can check out and they tell you a little bit about it. They link to 3 activities on their website. And then they're asking about if kids can find 2 objects that have symmetry. So they'd be just showcasing them. So I can take any of these and I can put them on my own grids. This isn't what we're reading. This is how I mess things up. And I can add it to my grid. Notice that you can change any of it up. So you're not stuck to what they've written. You can take, modify, switch it up as much as you like. So one of the groups that I love the most is vocabulary. If you haven't checked out their stuff, it's awesome. Most of it's through their paid app, but if I was doing area and perimeter, great video clip that walks through area and perimeter. But I can actually come in here because it's talking about the vocabulary, and to be honest, I just want them, maybe I want to change it. And if I can't change it here, I can change it once I go to my grid. So let's put it onto my grid and add. And now I can come in here and I can change it up. So I can say, put in my own open question. I can put in my own little prompt and change it up. So I'm going to update that. So that's the Disco library. If you're new to FLIPGRID, Disco library is your friend. You can find great options. One of the ones I love was doing mystery shapes with kids, or mystery numbers, or mystery anything really. So they had to give you some clues and not mystery numbers. So friends could then comment if they thought they knew the number, or they could ask clues without giving it away. Yeah, there's so many options in there. Okay, I'm trying to mixtapes. So if you're been with FLIPGRID for a while, mixtapes lets you curate from different places and put them into a collection. So honestly, like our old school mixtapes where we took our favorite comments or our favorite songs and put them together into one collection. Mixtapes is exactly that. So I'll show you one example I have here. So again, for the math conversation, we had 4 comments that came from the grid, and I wanted them to be in one collection because when they play back to back. So when we were in the screen, I could see my colleagues, and then as we play, it would just play one to the next. So it plays like that mixtape idea. So with mixtapes, hopefully Paul doesn't mind. He knew this is going to be online. Let's go back over here. So with mixtapes, I'm going to go back so I can make a new one. Again, you can personalize. Put your description in. You can put a password on, which we did for the student mixtapes because we kept all of their videos private. And then when I'm in my grids, hopefully I'm doing this right, Lisa. So once I click in my Educator Dashboard, I see all of my student videos. This one's awesome because I don't know who this kid is, but it's a great animation. So I can come in and I can hide or make a video viewable, but then in my actions, I can add to mixtapes because this is a great example that I want to play at an assembly, and I can just add it to that mixtape I want to add it to and add. So you're curating your own collection of FLIPGRID clips to share. And your FLIPGRID mixtapes will share the same way as your FLIPGRID, so you get that little code at the top. The other thing to remember is that you do, sometimes you just want to share something with parents because it was really great, like the graduation celebration. So notice that you have an option for, when you're in a topic, you have a topic guest. So you can actually bypass the whole login process if you just wanted to share it with somebody. So think if you're having an expert come into a classroom, but you're using the QR code logins, that's a way to address that. Yeah, definitely great for the final grad video. I think for me, the mixtapes, so I know I'm going to come back to that video yearbook idea we talked about. So if we're looking at that video yearbook, end of the year, we've had 5 different prompts that kids could choose from. They don't have to do any of them. They don't have to do 5 of them. They just, maybe we're asking them to do 1. I have some friends that have done 5, all 5. I have some friends that have only done 1. So I want to choose 1 to represent each kid. So a mixtape would let me go pick and choose the best clips and curate them into a collection. Or maybe I want to group some because they had similar ideas. So I'll put those 5 videos together and use that as a prompt. Okay, embed code, Brightspace, and guest topic. Let's do that again. So for example, here in graduation, we'll hide that because I shared this with people. In my clip, and this isn't a good one because I just hit it. So there we go, a final message. If I go to my guest code, you get a link option, so you don't have to share by a QR code. I can allow guests to record, but I've never done, I lied. When we did the World Read Aloud Day, when we sent it to our director, I actually sent this guest code so it would take them straight there. And I allowed them to record. For the most part, when I share guest codes, it's more for somebody to see it. I don't want them really to check anything. And notice that you can create a new link. So you can reset that because maybe you just want it accessible to them for the week. So it's just a great way if it's a grad and you want to be able to share it with families, it's a great way to do that without all of the other pieces. So again, when you go to share, if you're in Brightspace, you could put the link in, but in Brightspace, you may also want to try the embed code. So most tools like Google Sites and Brightspace allow you to, I don't know why it's not coming. Maybe I have to see here. Maybe it's already sitting and let's see. Yep, that's why. So it gives you this embed code, which I should not put in my notes because it goes all weird and funky. But that embed code will then embed it into your site. So Brightspace lets you use an embed code, and so does Google Sites, if that helps. I'm trying to think. I think we did everything. That was a bit of a mad dash. There are definitely a lot of options. I think as you're doing it with kids, that the games and the goal, the games are a great option. So think even, I've done it as a little online interaction where we've done mystery numbers. So think about as a teacher, if I post the video, especially with primaries, that I have a mystery number in mind, and then they can tell me their clues and their hints. I could reply to them to tell them they're close or they're not, and change that video up at the front. So a great way just to do something quick. But I think when it comes to the end of the school year, it's a great way to collect their reflections, to collect some of their ideas, but also to keep them engaged through the summer if you wanted to, as a school community. There's so much potential with FLIPGRID to capture that community voice. I love, Daniel, your idea of using it to better learn students' names and how to say their names. Love, love, love that idea. That's amazing. Okay, it's 8:02. We're over our time. I feel like that's a mad dash. I'm sorry. So just looking at our time, June is, these months have flown by. As always, we'll put this on the Appy Hour playlist, and I'll DM you the clip if you want to check it out. But I'll also grab the FLIPGRID camera Appy Hour if you want to kind of see the different options there. There were a lot of different pieces and tools. Natasha, I know, right? Such a cool idea. This is why I love Appy Hour. People always come up with different ideas, and we get to share in your brilliance. Jennifer, great point. Just remember with the share option in FLIPGRID. Remember when I click on the share option, I could either drop this link into my Google Classroom or in my Brightspace, or I could actually use the Google Classroom connection to drop it into an announcement or an assignment. I think it's a great option for music in particular, or the arts. We've used it with an art teacher for students to actually capture their process, and we had it at an art show. So they had their art piece, and then when you scanned the QR code, you could see their process throughout. So they can actually document as they go along. Awesome. Feel great that people are feeling a bit more comfortable. So we can do what we did with the GIF evening and make a little video of how students could add to FlipGrid. If that's helpful, I'm sure they have a video. FlipGrid's awesome that way. So let me know if you want that. Just let me know on Twitter or here. I can do that on Friday morning or tomorrow sometime. Just a quick how to get started for the kids, or see if I can find one. Awesome to learn with everybody. Jeffrey, I love that idea of the city hunt. Even it'd be cool to get people from, if you're doing even regions in Canada, getting people from different regions to give little clues about themselves. A great way to invite them in. So great possibilities. So we'll do 2 more Appy hours. There'll be 1 more vote. I know there were a lot of people that wanted Google Earth tours, so we'll put that in. If you have any other topics that you'd really like to explore, I know there were also a lot of votes for the collages with Photoshop Mix. So I'll post that to DigiArtBox this weekend as a video, and I'm going to try something different, I think. We'll see how that works. For our last session, I don't know, it may just be me doing it by myself, but I thought it would be fun to try something like a photo walk. I'm not sure how to pull that off. It can't be a YouTube live per se, but maybe a Twitter chat with video or a YouTube with chapters. Still figuring it out, but with all this beautiful weather, it seems like it would be fun to get outside and do some learning out in the outdoors. Of course, share with anybody you like. I know they're not very polished, but if it's helpful, that's awesome. Using it for Jump Rope for Heart, that's great. Skip Hop Challenge, love it. And I think that's the cool part, especially if you want to use some of those challenge ideas from TikTok or Instagram without the demands of social media. This really allows you to do that. Belinda, would it be great to do the photo walk? Oh, you'll go for a walk with me. Awesome. I have no clue how to do this technically. So 2 weeks to figure it out. I could do a live FlipGrid walkabout. That's it. I love doing photography, and that's actually how we got started doing some of the pop-ups. Is we go out, explore, and we give little prompts as we were exploring. And photography is such a great one moving into the summer. So yeah, just curious on how we could do it and how we can get outside using the tools to communicate. Yeah, we can definitely look at clips again. Clips, we never did clips on YouTube Live. We had done it in a different format, but I'm sure people would enjoy it. Yeah, Catherine, that's why I think FlipGrid would be great, especially if you frame it as them